Hi guys, today we gather around to discuss one of the greatest, if not the greatest animated shows of all time. The Last Airbender focused on 4 kingdoms: the Earth Kingdom, the Water Tribe, the Air Nomads, and the Fire Nation. The first 3 nations were at war with the Fire Nation, and there was only one person who could reunite the kingdoms and bring peace to all the land. In today's video, we shall discuss the characters that featured in the show, and we shall discuss who they were in the show, and how they lived their day-to-day lives. We shall also look at what tribe they came from and what type of bending they specialized in. Then we shall see the iconic voices behind their talent, who they are, where they are, and how old they are today in 2024. There was a boy named Saka, who was a Water Tribe warrior of the Southern Water Tribe, and had a little sister who we shall look at later, and were both living with their grandma. In the first episodes of the show, Saka was kind of immature and skeptical, and was also seen to be sexist when it came to roles in the community. Even so, he would become serious and tough when it came to protect his own sister who he loved a lot. He wanted to be the leader everywhere he went, and was not easily bossed around. He was loyal to his friends and the Avatar's course, and never fumbled when it came to decision-making. It was Jack DeSena who took the role of voicing Saka. After successfully taking the role, Jack was called by Netflix to play the role of Prince Callum in The Dragon Prince, and has done more than 5 seasons in the show. And also a little back in 2007, he voiced Jimmy Olsen in the Batman movie, and has actually been active since 2002. Married and blessed with 1 kid, Jack is now 36 years old today. Aang belonged to the Air Nomads, who were later wiped out by the Fire Nation, and was the remaining Airbender alive. He was the Avatar during the 100-Year-Old War after succeeding Avatar Roku in the role. He was 112 years old, but due to his lost time in the iceberg, he was still a 12-year-old cute little boy who behaved exactly like a 12-year-old boy. He loved fun, was adventurous, and had a funny sense of humor most of the time. Unlike today's kids, Aang was respectful towards everyone, including his enemies, and was always a peaceful and mature lad. He was a vegetarian, as it was seen multiple times when he refused to eat meat and chose vegetables instead. Being the Avatar took most of his young years away, as he was always in the move trying to do all that he could to stop the Fire Nation's rule and end the 100-Year War. The Avatar was voiced by a boy, who's now a man called Zach Tyler Eisen. Zachary retired from the screens at an early age to focus on his life, but in his prime, he voiced Lucas Nickel in The Ant Bully and also had roles in Entropy of 1999. He now works behind the scenes of films and is currently 31 years old today. There was a prince called Zuko, who was the son of the Fire Lord and was also a firebending master. Zuko was the eldest son, and was banished by his father to look for the Avatar in order to restore his dignity. In the first season, Zuko was 16 years old. He was a bitter and impatient man, and was fully focused on finding and capturing the Avatar. What kept him going was his rage and anger towards his failures, and wanted nothing more than to succeed his father in the Fire Lord's seat. In all the show, Zuko was always demanding and had the alpha male characteristics. He was also very independent, and would sometimes leave his soldiers to attack his enemies on his own. This beast of a boy was voiced by Dante Bosco, who is an American actor. Being so distinguished, he is also seen in American Dragon, where he was the protagonist, and was also in The Proud Family, The Boondocks, and was also heard in The Ultimate Spider-Man voicing Scorpion. A very talented man, Dante is now 49 years old today. General Fong was from the Earth Kingdom, and was a powerful earthbending commander who served as the general during the final stages of the 100-Year-Old War. Everyone knew him as the most aggressive general in the Earth Kingdom. He saw people as collateral, and was willing to go further in attaining his aims. The reason he was referred to as one of the greats is because he had quite a superhuman level of stamina during fights and was also a master in sandbending. Sandbending those days was so rare such that even the Avatars never learned this move. Fong was voiced by Daniel Day Kim, who is an American actor. Most of us first knew him as Gene in the series called Lost, and also in Hawaii 5 where he played the role of Kelly. And in the live-action remake of The Last Airbender, He is currently playing Fire Lord Ozai, and we are eagerly waiting to see him in Season 2. Anyways, he has done it all and is still 56 years old young. My favorite character was Toph, a young girl who was blind and was from a well-respected family called Fong. This girl was an earthbending machine. Seriously, she was the greatest earthbending master to ever have lived. No one could take her down, not even the Avatar himself. She could not see, so she depended on her other senses. In the beginning of her debut, we saw that she was so pampered by her parents because she was visually disabled, but after joining Team Avatar, we saw her serious and tough side unlike what we ever saw before. She was the most bossy character of the show, but sometimes was nice. She was actually the one who taught the Avatar to master earthbending. She was voiced by Michaela Jill Murphy, who is an American voice actress. I know most of you knew her only from this show, but for the rest of us, we recognized her voice in The Emperor's New School where she voiced Saka. She was born in southern Indiana from an Irish home, and is 30 years old today. Qara was Saka's sister, and was a southern waterbending master in the 100-year-old war who joined the Avatar in his adventures. She was always so caring and compassionate towards her friends, but was ruthless when it came to her enemies. She was not the oldest in the group, but was a mother figure due to her loving nature. Every time Qara saw children, she never hesitated in helping them. But even so, this girl was considered to be the greatest waterbender in all the nations, and was actually the one who perfected the bloodbending technique, which was later banned in The Legend of Korra due to its demonic state. Qara went as far as healing others using water, bending her own sweat, crystallizing water. I mean, this woman was a beast. She had the honor to be voiced by a beautiful woman called Mae Whitman, who is an American actress. She began her career as a child and went on to role in movies like When a Man Loves a Woman and Independence Day. She has been in countless animation shows for Cartoon Network such as Johnny Bravo where she voiced Little Susie, and was also in Tinker Bell. Blessed with a boy a few months ago, Mae Whitman is 36 years old in 2024. Azula was a lightning-generating master machine who was the little sister of Zuko. She was the princess of the Fire Nation and the daughter of the Fire Lord. In the show, she was 14 years old, but she later grew up as the series went on. This girl was so confident and believed that she could take anyone one-on-one in an Ignikai. She practiced perfection and was always trying to please her father, and went on her way to capture the Avatar before Zuko could. She was also a master fighter, and could defeat men 3 times her size. Azula was voiced by the mighty Grey Delisle, who is an American voice actress. She once stated that Azula was one of her greatest works, and for a legend like her to say that, it really shows you how much work she put into it. She has done so many animation projects, mostly in Cartoon Networks, and is now 51 years old. We meet a bison named APPA, who was Aang's loyal sky bison who both shared a strong bond. Just like Aang, APPA was also an airbender who mostly used his tail as his main source of weapon. He also used his body weight as an added advantage when it came to battles. Just like a dog, APPA was so trusting to his friends and every other kind person he met on his adventure. And even without his tail, he was sometimes spotted using his mouth as an airbending weapon. And even his stamina was off the roof, as was seen when he traveled from one kingdom to the other without resting. The growling sounds he produced were enacted by a man named D. Bradley Baker, who is an American voice actor, and has done so many vocalizations of animals and monsters in shows such as Phineas and Ferb, Space Jam, Kids Next Door, and even in The Legend of Korra. A girl named Suki was the leader of the Kyoshi warriors that were located in Kyoshi Island. This woman was a fighting machine, and was seen in her tough and assertive traits. She was a real-life ninja, and was never afraid to speak her mind or take action whenever needed. But even so, she was always compassionate and nice to her fellow Kyoshi villagers, and always preferred peace than violence. When it came to protecting the island, she did it strong and with a committed heart, and this was seen multiple times when she refused to join Team Avatar in order to protect her village from any impending danger. This spirited warrior was voiced by Jenny Kwan, who is an American actress and singer. And for those that watched Street Fighter VI, she rolled as Chun-Li in the movie, and even long before that, she played the role of Audrey in the 1991 series called The Little Shop. An old man named Iroh was a retired Fire Nation general and was actually the one who was supposed to be next in line as the Fire Lord, but refused after his son passed away in the war. His nickname, the Dragon of the West, was given to him when he was the general due to the atomic firebending powers and techniques he had. In this show, he was in his late 50s, and was seen to be a composed fella just riding his life like an old man. He was so easygoing with everyone, and was actually against his brother's rule as the Fire Lord. In most of the show, he was the wise one, and was seen always Zuko on the path to take and the one to avoid, and was also seen giving advice to Toph after taking a cup of tea together. He was a good man and was voiced by a gentleman called Mako Iwamatsu, who was just credited as Mako, and was a Japanese actor who had a successful 50-year career on the screens, and was best recognized and nominated for an Academy Award for the Best Supporting Actor in the 1966 show called The Sand Pebbles. Sadly, this legend passed away on July 21, 2006 from complications of esophageal cancer, and will forever be remembered for voicing Splinter in the TMNT franchise. After talking about Iroh, we gotta talk about his younger brother Ozai, who was the Supreme Fire Lord at the time, and was ruling in the 100-Year War era. He was in his 40s and was a guy with anger issues which he mostly took out on his son Zuko. He was thirsty for power and was always trying to have all the nations under his rule whether they liked it or not. He rolled as the arch-enemy of Avatar Aang from the beginning of the show to the end. And other than his brother, I think that Ozai was the most powerful firebender of his time. He was voiced by the great Mark Hamill, who is largely known for playing Luke Skywalker in the Star Wars franchise, and also playing Joker in most of DC Comics movies. Ty Lee was Azula's trusted friend, who was so cheerful and energetic everywhere she went. She met with Azula for the first time when they were in the Royal Fire Academy while they were still kids. She was so bubbly and hyper, and was also a master acrobat who used her skills in battles. She had a fighting technique which left her rivals paralyzed and unable to move, and loyalty was her #1 game, as was seen multiple times when she always helped Azula in her quests without asking questions. This lovely lady was voiced by Olivia Hack, who is known best in the Nickelodeon's show called Hey Arnold, where she voiced the role of Rhonda Wellington. Born in 1983, she perfected her acting skills in the 90s and has been in very many shows ever since. Mai was among the trio of Ty Lee and Azula, and was the firstborn child of a governor called Ukano. Her character can be described as that of a gothic girl. She was so gloomy and was never seen smiling. She was always bored and never showed any emotions in the show. Just like Azula and Ty Lee, Mai was good in hand-to-hand combat and was not so easy to defeat. She also used ninja-like weapons which she threw at her rivals, and was actually so good in that. Nevertheless, she was against the idea of needless killings, and that was the main reason why she never got in line with Azula's plans. It was Cricket Lee who had the role of voicing her. She is an actor who has been on the big screens since the 90s, and can be seen also in Celebrity Deathmatch of 1998. Hakoda was the father to Saka and Qara, and also had a wife named Kia who later passed away. He was one of the leaders who always fought against the Fire Nation regime, and gave up his life to war on the oppressing Fire Lord. He was so caring to his wife before her passing away, and also loved and cherished his kids. He was the leader due to his intelligence and his strategies in the war, and was the reason why the Water Tribe was still not under the Fire Nation's rule. He was a skilled warrior and good in hand-to-hand combat too. This warrior was voiced by Andrei Sogliuzzo, who is an American voice actor and comedian, and I remember him also in Star Wars The Clone Wars and in Jackie Chan Adventures. He was born in New York in 1966, and still lives in New York with his family. There was this lady called Yu, who was the princess of the Northern Water Tribe. She was 16 years old in the first season of the show, and was such a kind and sweet gentle girl who at times had a sweet sense of humor which she used on others to escape boredom. She had that deep sense of duty and rulership to her tribe and people, and was willing to be married off to another tribe for the good of others. The first season of the show ended when she took her own life for the rebirth of the Spirit Moon, which helped in the defeat of the Fire Nation army. And it was Johanna Brady who voiced her. I don't know much about her, but I remember seeing her in Paranormal Activity, the third movie. She is still active in television, as she is only 37 years old today.